Hey there everyone, and welcome to more D&D Horror Story Cringe. In today's episode, we have a few Dungeons & Dragons tales that will just leave you scratching your head. And before we get into these stories, a message from Alice the cat. Thanks, Alice. Now, let's get right into these stories. The Mismash Session of Cringe by Reddit user Lumalufu. Warning: late mention of non-consensual intercourse ahead. So, first off, I'm a fairly new player. I've consumed horror stories like these, and general D&D stories for 2 years about, and recently I had been wanting to finally play. Thus, I joined a looking for game post from the Discord server, and immediately noticed some red flags. One of the players had some weeby name, anime profile picture, the usual. Cool, don't judge a book by the cover. Then I looked at their messages. They used that stereotypical weeb language, the emoticon faces on the end of every message, all that stuff. This didn't go well with their character, who was a stereotypical kitsune samurai succubus girl. He made sure to post a picture of them, which was literally just ripped straight from an anime. It turns out, the DM had tried running a campaign with this person before, and they started talking about killing families and seducing men into intercourse against their will, which prompted the campaign at the time to fall apart. Why they let him back in, I have no idea. Luckily, they weren't there for the actual session, which was, to put it lightly, a complete shit show. The actual session began with the stereotypical, you walk into a tavern with your fellow adventurers, what do you do? By fellow adventurers, I mean literally one other guy. The rest just didn't show up, which isn't entirely unusual, but it's weird that the DM chose to start anyway. We conversed with the bartender, who told us about the Undying Stone, which was some random stone with absolutely no lore other than it can revive people. That was our grand goal for the campaign, so we investigated for it, which led us to an old shack with a chest in it, which we of course tried to open. Then the bartender was revealed to be our enemy in reality, and he locked us in the shack, stating, "Now nobody can oppose me in finding the Great Stone." Okay, cool. A nice early plot twist, and we have our first enemy. And then the chest opened. I'm not sure how, but an entire elf climbed out of the chest, out of literally nowhere, and now we're trapped with a DM NPC. Ugh. We eventually got out, and went back into the tavern, only for the DM to reveal that it was all just an illusion. Nobody but us was in the tavern, along with a singer who was still singing. When we alerted her, we learned that she was blind and very distressed. I fail a persuasion check, and she pulls out a fucking Glock. Well, that escalated quickly. This was advertised as a medieval fantasy campaign, and now there is an old blind woman flawlessly aiming a Glock at us, somehow. We disarm her and bring her to reason, and find out she's been shooting anyone who comes here. We're given a direction to investigate, and given a horse, again, basically out of nowhere. We head that direction, and we are charged on by a headless Roman soldier, which was, yet again, confusing as hell, because this is meant to be a homebrew world, and here's an actual Roman from Earth, without a head, charging at us. The DM then, out of character, just tells us to run, then describes that a horde of millions of Romans come pouring through the forest at us. And when I say millions, I mean actual millions. The DM made it very clear that he was not exaggerating, so we make probably about 7 rolls to escape the hundreds of rocks, spears, and axes flying at us, and get swept up by a river, which carries us to God knows where. Me and the other player, who I'll call Fighter, were both just completely confused at this point. We had begun PMing each other in secret about the situation, and I had my suspicions that this is not normal confirmed. The DM then just gives us a baby troll, who, for some reason, can speak common, and I can use it to look for enemies. We then traveled to a village, and were met with aggressive smiles, and something's definitely off here. I make a joke about the village being a ripoff of We Happy Few, and it was funny. Until we actually were forced into taking what they called happy pills. So, it was actually just a ripoff of We Happy Few. So we sleep in the village, and when we wake up, there is water dripping on our faces, urging us to explore upstairs. Frankly, we just wanted out of there, but were effectively railroaded into just investigating upstairs, which resulted in nothing. There was nothing up there, so we went back to sleep, and in our sleep had our weapons taken away from us by the mayor and his butler. And in the morning, the DM just told us that our weapons were upstairs, despite our characters having no way to know that. I should mention that we were trying very hard to express our thoughts here, especially Fighter, but the DM, every time, would just laugh it off and pay no mind. So Fighter persuaded a guard to give us our weapons back, so that entire event the night before was literally for nothing, and we tried to leave. We were, of course, knocked out by the mayor and butler out of nowhere, and dragged off to be killed, just for the almighty DM NPC to save us. Since we both were just fed up, and knew this campaign was doomed long ago, we just said fuck it, and tried to kill the DM NPC, with the reason being, we were just knocked out, and don't know what's going on. And of course, he was invulnerable. So, we just left right then and there. Well, that was something. By the sounds of it, OP got an interest in tabletop RPGs by listening to DnD Horror Stories on YouTube, and had his first game become one itself. I hope OP doesn't give up on playing after this experience, and finds a game worth investing his time in with a DM that actually puts in some thought into the world. And hopefully, without Glock-wielding blind grannies. On to the next story. The Stealthy Fireball / Greatsword by Reddit user Redman1986. Many years ago, in the heady days of DnD 3.0, I was running for 3 friends, a wizard, a paladin, and a druid. The issue at hand pertains to the wizard. They were in a scriptorium, trying to get some ancient spellbook before a rival group of adventurers could find it. An opposing fighter and barbarian were standing in between a block of shelves, barring the way. The wizard points and says, "I cast Fireball right here," and indicates a point on the battle map rolled out on the table. I nod and tell them to roll reflex saves, and they fail. The wizard throws out a good amount of fire damage, close to 40 on 8d6s. The rest of the fight plays out. Player characters are successful, and they start to search the scriptorium for the thing. I pointed out that what they were looking for might have been destroyed in the fireball earlier. The wizard looks at me and asks, "Why would the fireball have destroyed the pages? I just threw it at those 2 guys." I respond with, "A fireball has 20-foot radius. That's huge, dude." "Yeah, but I only wanted it to hit those 2 guys. Why are you making it hurt the environment as well?" I opened the player's handbook and found the part of the text that literally says, "Unattended objects also take this damage," and the fireball sets fire to combustibles and damages objects in the area. The wizard swore at me and then said, "Well, then I don't know why you said they would be destroyed. It just says damaged." I asked him how many hit points he thought a book had. We looked it up, and it was maybe 8. Wizard and the rest of the players tried to convince me that a giant fiery explosion did not damage their surroundings for about 5 minutes before then trying to convince me to let them take the fireball back, which would have involved rewinding an entire fight from in real life hours ago at this point. I said no on both accounts. Fast forward many, many years. I'm running 5th edition for a different group of players, a fighter, a druid, a warlock, and a wizard. They are in a mansion of a corrupt baron as his guests. They discover a bunch of heinous shit the guy did and resolve to murder the hell out of him. They accomplish this by having the druid talk to and flirt with the Baron while nobody else is around to get the drop on him. The fighter is moving to do the deed with an effing greatsword, and the druid uses persuasion to assist the fighter's stealth roll, and he's able to get up behind him unnoticed. The fighter rolls with advantage and activates Great Weapon Mastery. He picks up a critical and wastes the guy in 2 blows. This is where the plan falls apart. They then instantly pick up the Baron's corpse, haul it to his bedroom, and tuck it in bed. Their plan is to simply say that he died of a heart attack in his sleep. I asked them how they intend to explain the horrific greatsword wounds on his body, and they hadn't thought of that. The wizard comes up with the brilliant idea to close the wounds on his body with mending. Since he's dead, his body would count as an object. I found this to be genuinely inventive, so I allowed it. I then asked what they intended to do about the blood and viscera all over where he got murdered. Fighter then asked me, couldn't I have attacked him slyly to try to not make a mess? I responded with a greatsword? With Great Weapon Master on? The player nodded and said, with no shame, yes. It just struck me, hearing that. 2 players, literally decades apart, coming to the same idiotic conclusion that their actions would have no tangible effect on the world around them. Like, the world was the skybox in a video game. I guess time is a flat circle, and so is idiocy. Yeah, I guess some players just don't think of the consequences of their in-game actions. Of course a book will burn up when it's hit by fire. That's just kinda what they do. Though, I suppose OP could have said that it was a magic book that had some protection. And then to thwack someone with a greatsword and be surprised when there's gore. Though, I do kinda want to know what happened with that afterward. Maid walks in, discovers dead Baron with blood all over him. Huh, must have had a heart attack. Oh well, gotta clean up this weird red stuff. Though, I guess they could have always used prestidigitation. Ah, nailed it. Moving on. Creepy guy desperately needs to be the center of attention so bad he becomes the BBEG. By Reddit user LLTK Scar. I'll start this out by prefacing that this was everyone's first time DMing, except for the creepy guy. Let's call him Vincent. 2 of the players were completely new to D&D, and this campaign was more free-flowing and homebrew was encouraged. This story follows a party of 6, including myself and 2 of the players who are women. This is an important detail. I was playing a fairy necromancer that uses hemomancy to revive the dead. Vincent's character was a variant human druid that turns warforged while in wild shape. The first 2 sessions were just a precursor to what was about to transpire. We all wake up in a prison in separate cells, and our collective goal is to escape. Now, something that you don't already know about Vincent is that he desperately needs to be overpowered, and he craves the limelight and attention. Instead of having to fight any encounters throughout the prison, including dangerous criminals and guards, Vincent rolls 1d20 plus 8 on persuasion. Yes, a d20 plus 8 on every single roll. Needless to say, we basically walk past 3 sessions worth of intense battles and interesting encounters. It turns out that Vincent actually has a familiar somewhere locked up in the prison, so we all attempt to find the female white fox familiar. You might see where this is going. Once we rescue Vincent's familiar, and we fight the first boss of the campaign, the Warden, we set out to the nearest town. While on our exploration towards the town, we learn that Vincent's fox familiar can actually shapeshift into a humanoid form. Vincent gave us many pictures of what the fox would look like on the Discord server. Let's just say that he really likes monster girls of the scantily clad variety. Keep in mind that there are 2 females in this campaign in the Discord server with us, and they are growing increasingly creeped out. At this point, my character hasn't been able to do much because I overestimated his capabilities and made him too weak. Vincent enjoys that fact and loves to point it out, constantly in a pissing battle with me about how his character is so much better. Anyways, we set out on a mission a barkeep gave us to collect some spider eggs for rare alcohol they wanted to make. We make it to the cave where all the spiders are, and we tread very carefully so as not to wake the spiders. Vincent doesn't care and walks in, making as much noise as possible, and proceeds to persuade the massive spiders into just giving us their eggs. I ask the party for one of the spider eggs in the hope that I can make it into a companion. Wait, are we just going to gloss over the fact that the DM allowed him to persuade the spiders to give up their eggs? I imagine the spiders aren't intelligent creatures, so how would you persuade them to do anything? Also, does Vincent speak Infernal? Whatever, let's just get back to it. Not too long after those sessions, my life got extremely busy and I started to have some health complications. I missed one session and I found out that Vincent said, "The whole party marked your face up with permanent ink." Awesome. Just awesome. Turns out they spent that whole session partying and getting laid. Vincent thoroughly enjoyed making Discord roles that said, quote, "got laid." And, oh, look at that. Hee didn't get laid under my rules. Nice. Why would you care? Also, signs pointing to bad DM territory here again. I put some time aside from my busy schedule to come back after that one session I missed. During my session back, we were all joking around and having fun around a campfire, so I jokingly said, "I cast Fireball." Everyone had a giggle because it was a running joke, and the DM said roll for damage. I was like, oh fuck, but I liked that this was how it panned out. My character being drunky and randomly casting Fireball. I did no damage to the party, but Vincent took it upon himself to threaten my character through PvP. I obviously wasn't going to fight him, but he decided to take my character's agency and independence away by threatening him. Anyone who has had to deal with another PC threatening your character knows that it's one of the worst feelings. You feel helpless, especially when the other one is 1,000 times stronger than you, because I just rolled 18s and 20s on everything. After all of this happened, I decided to almost give up on this campaign entirely. So I left, only coming back for a session here and there, every month or so. I was still in the Discord server, and would check up on it every so often. He began getting increasingly more creepy and more attention-seeking until he posted a very nearly fully nude monster girl in the main chat, and no one said anything. I learned months later the whole story of the sessions that I wasn't present for. When I was present in some of the sessions that Vincent was the DM for. Wait, what? He was purposely making it so I couldn't hit anything. He made the damage rolls against me do more, and any check that I attempted to make was instantly the lowest roll. It turned out that Vincent was the sole character that drew the permanent ink on my face while I was gone that first session. Vincent boiled my spider egg alive for no reason, not even to eat it. And obviously, the entire time he was making jokes at my expense while I was not there. Vincent's character ended up multi-classing with a Hexblade Warlock, and once he put his 3 separate status effects on an enemy, every melee attack crit 3 times. Yeah. Also, Vincent is a dragon. Vincent is level 30, while everyone else is level 16. And Vincent is the BBEG because he got too much power and went mad. Everyone else except for me and one other person stayed. They all continue to play up until today, their second to last session, and already Vincent has killed off many of the players' important companions that they all care about. Needless to say, one of the women in that campaign is setting up a new campaign without Vincent and all of the previous players, and he has no clue. TLDR, a creepy attention-seeking guy makes a character not unlike himself. Everyone got sick of him and are making a new campaign without him. Okay, first off, I gotta make sure. I'm not the only one confused about the whole DMing situation, right? Was there another DM? Was Vincent the DM the whole time and just had a DM PC? This story was a bit on the mind-boggling side. Anyway, Vincent definitely sounds like the type of person that just craves attention, and did seem like he had his sights set on OP. Honestly, I'm surprised that OP stayed in that game during all of that. Thankfully, it sounds like he left and is in the works to play a new campaign without Vincent. But that is all the time we have for today. If you have a story that you would like to be shared on the channel, be sure to post it to the D&D Doge subreddit, link it in the comments, or even DM me on Twitter. As always, I appreciate all of you, and hope you don't have a headache like I do after reading these stories. Until next time.